Yeah, hello and welcome to another episode of Live Talks with Fawole. We have the wizard, Dairy, and we have my brother Gbola in the house. Welcome to the studio, Gbola.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming.
Welcome,
thank you for coming. Thank you for
Lovely
coming.
setup, as I must say. Yeah, nice
Yeah,
space.
you know what? I can't even
Good
forget
vibe.
this. Yeah, I'm trying to make this keep the live in the background. I know the phone's probably gonna drop. Stay still, motherfucking phone. B.
It's actually G, but anyway.
G.
Funny.
Yeah, it starts with G, innit?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Explain it to me.
Explain it.
Yeah.
It's short for Bolahan, which is short for a longer name still, but Bolahan is shortened to Gbola. And being in this place from a young age, you shorten your name to fit in, because every time I would start a new class, the teacher would get to the point of not being able to pronounce my name, so I just raised my hand and answer. So it was easier.
It's made it easier. Made it easier.
Made it easier, not on the register, but just in conversation.
Yeah.
This is not Nigeria, so it's not somewhere where the person can pronounce your name as though it's an everyday name. So it's a very different thing when you're there.
I want to get to that,
Okay.
but first I have to get to what's what for me. Like you brought an array of food here for us. Like let me just tell you, look, I'm on the live, but the camera's a bit hazy. If you can see it, you can see it. If you can't see it, cool. But love to you if you're watching it and all that. Yeah, boom. This is my first guest, or 57 guests, or even more than 57 guests that I've had in my studio, that I show love to, that I have an inherent love for, that has bought libations and refreshments for the crew. OMG, can I get that, please, wizard? This is the extent that this guy is rolling. Like, we're gonna just, God bless you, Gbola. I appreciate
blessings
you.
are many. So
I appreciate you.
We spread the love.
It's not that everyone had to be blessed as the way you've blessed us, but it's nice to be blessed like this occasionally. It gives you a sense of worth.
Yes.
And it's like when you come to someone's house, this isn't my house. When you come to someone's house and you do this is how you're supposed to move.
There you go.
It shows your levels.
Well, it's my heritage. So
Yeah, because your levels, I'm gonna get because your upbringing. Like I know there's the same thing. It's in Nigerian like myself, with Yoruba as well. I know there's also the same in the Caribbean diaspora as well. Don't come to no one's house with your long hand, they say.
Yeah.
Like, you always carry something to come to when you bring a blessing. And oh God, have you blessed us today? We chopped jollof. He brought fish. He brought machine with goat's meat. I said, if you know me, you know I love cake. I mentioned it to this guy. He brought red velvet cake. For goodness sake, I won't swear. I want to say, for goodness sake, he brought red velvet cake. Hey. On top of that, you know what you bring? I probably on my anniversary opening champagne, but not today. As we do. Salute to you, Gbola.
Salute to you.
Yeah, thank you. Look at some cups over there.
It's all because you're doing a great thing. That's really what it is. It's an appreciation of the greatness that you're doing. That's what it is.
Sir, let me touch your cup first.
Yeah.
I will receive that. You got something in there, you know that?
Yeah, red.
Okay, it's all right?
Yeah. I'm mixing it.
I appreciate that, yeah? But it is a testimony to who you are as a gentleman and how you move and how you brought up and your way of life also. Also, because people out there, I've got a lot of friends that respect what I'm doing, but they're not respecting the same way you're respecting it, so please.
Yes.
Credit where credit is due.
We give thanks. Yeah.
And if this goes like sideways today, you know, we've been drinking. I was drinking and I was thinking and we was podcasting. And my mouth was blasting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wizard? You, sir, are a devout Nigerian. I love that.
Well, Yoruba first, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Nigerian comes after.
Wow.
You know? Let's call it as it is. Let's call it really what it is. Nigeria is a name given to us by people who came to life.
Cheers.
Yeah, to life.
To life.
Yeah, to life.
To life.
Hey, continue and be blessed.
To life.
Yeah.
To live talks. Well, come back. To live talks.
To live talks.
Yeah. Wait.
That's good.
It's
That's
nice,
good.
bro.
It's nice with the mix. Have a mix.
I got a mix me up there. Mix me up
Have
there.
a mix.
I'm chewing champagne. Small. Thank you very much.
Or the pineapple. It's even nicer still.
Well, I'll tell you the next time, man.
So, as I was saying, it's funny because we all connect with a name who are Nigerian. Many people around the globe connect with Nigerians because 1 in 5 black people are meant to be from Nigeria. But we didn't give ourselves that name. That's a name which another country came and gave to the region which they colonized. So there's a legacy from that. So when I say Yoruba first, I mean that's my heritage. That's my lineage. That's my people. That's my ancestry. And I accept that we are now known as Nigerians. But in saying that, when I was growing up in this country, because I was born here, when I was growing up in this country, I didn't know there were different types of Nigerians. I just thought we were. Thought we were all Nigerians. I had no understanding that there were people from the north or the south or the east or the west. I just thought we were all Nigerians.
Very interested, like that.
Up until a very late stage.
Of what?
Yeah, maybe thinking 15, 16. I still thought we were all just Nigerians.
But the way that things are categorized and the lack of knowledge about the amount of different tribes, because how many tribes are there in Nigeria?
If I'm correct, I believe there's over 250 different distinct languages
in Nigeria. Just in Nigeria alone.
Yeah, I think it's 250 different distinct dialects.
Yeah,
which can be seen as languages, but there are any
tribes?
number. The number is countless. When I really look at a map of Nigeria, I look at the peoples of Nigeria. There's a map which is in existence which shows the distinct people, their regions, whether it's Kanuri, Bobi, Tiv, Igbo, of course Yoruba, Hausa, Fulani. Yeah, many. So we look at it and we just call ourselves a blanket Nigerian, and people just know it as Nigerian, but there's a lot to it.
How do you feel about being blanketed like that?
To a certain extent, it gives power. It does, because to be known as a Nigerian when I was growing up was a very elevated thing, because there was that time of boom and plenty, and Nigerians would come in here. I'll give an instance. A Nigerian came here in whatever year it was in a mini cab and forgot his 250 grand in cash in the cab. The cabman, of course, left and was never seen again. The man never really sweated that he lost 250 grand. So it was just story after story after story in the newspaper of Nigerians being extravagant. So it was normal. There were many businesses which have made a lot of money from knowing a particular Nigerian language and being able to cater at that time. So I think there's perception. There's a level of decadence to it, but there's a level of celebration. People say the money was wasted when the pound was 1 naira was more than £1, and £1 was 1 naira at that time. I think as it stands today, it's 850 something naira to the pound.
How does that happen?
Well, the question is, Nigeria is a territory which is set up to extract wealth from the continent of Africa. So
say that again, please. Nigeria is a territory that was set up to extract wealth from the
continent of Africa. Okay. So it's been carrying out that purpose. So as a Nigerian, how do you expect Nigeria to work for you if you were never considered when it was created? It's just like being in a company and not understanding what this company was set up to do, and you're working there, but you don't really know it was set up to do. So it's a phenomenally wealthy place. People say it's a poor country. It's a phenomenally wealthy place, but the resources have just been diverted to the hands of very few, of intergenerational, multinational, continuous criminal enterprise. That's really what it is at this point in time. I'll give you an example. This was a fact which was said recently, but has been known and been repeated a number of times. A pipeline was found in found. I don't know how you'd hide it. A pipeline was found which led to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where people were extracting 250,000 barrels of oil a day.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria. This is one pipeline which was found. Now, when you really look at it, 250,000 barrels of oil a day is on the world market somewhere around $100 a barrel. Somewhere around. Not, there or thereabouts. So just in terms of that, you're talking in the billions per month.
Per month.
Billions per month. Billions of dollars taken per month. Yeah. So the issue that comes from that is what banks... Because you can't transfer that kind of money without a banking system. What banks are involved?
What's sucking the money?
Which banks? Which ship liners? You can tell where a ship is at any time on the planet. Which ships were being used? Where was the barrels of oil going to? The petrochemical industry far surpasses the worth of the oil. So all the other industries that are benefiting. An example, you can't export crude oil from America. It's illegal. Why can you just take crude oil from Nigeria?
So you can't.
You cannot.
You
must export refined product. But in our case, in Nigeria's case,
you can export the
you can
raw.
Take whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. As much as the people say, all you have to do is find the right person to pay. Now, the so-called governance is not working for the citizens. And with that level of wealth, at 250,000 barrels of oil a day, that has been in existence, they've said for 9 years. I would contest the pipeline, that particular one. If there's one, there's 10. If there's one, there's 10. That means it's come to its end of its useful life. You've had what you need to take from it, and now you can expose it. So the levels of wealth that we're talking about, of which the people who are engaged in it are taking pennies on the pound in order just to get a backdoor payment. So if you're getting a barrel of oil for $100 on the open market, maybe they're only taking $15. Maybe they're only taking 10.
So they're selling it for 10.
Maybe they're only selling it for 10, but then there's no record of the payment. So the issue is, how can a country so wealthy be so disadvantageous to its citizens? How can it be that way?
But then wouldn't you say, like, because it's orchestrated by the countries that are taking the stuff to pay certain people to do that? Like, I'll give you 100 grand, I'll give you 100 million or whatever. I'm supposed to give the country $1 billion. You'll suck that, and then everyone else will go without. Basically, it's like, isn't it the greed of individuals that we're talking about here? It's
collaborators in association with a continuous intergenerational criminal cartel who have been at it for centuries, and it hasn't stopped. So let's not pretend that it has.
This what fucks with me, right? This what bothers me, yeah. So we've got slavery. We know about slavery,
enslavement,
being enslaved and stuff. We know there's still modern day slavery today. We know that in different cultures they still do it. The people being exploited. We know the amount of resources we have in Nigeria. We know the benefits of it. We can see the Chinese coming. We can see governments coming there. Don't forget it. We know that there's the whole thing of when the Dutch came to South Africa, and certain people, their whole economies are built on stuff based in Africa. Like the whole South African diaspora, the gold, the diamonds, all this stuff. Like, what's it going to take for black people or African people or for the African nation be able to make a change without these people stealing the money behind doors, taking £10 on a barrel just to put money in their own pockets? How long can the same thing be going on? Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying, I can't comprehend it. Like, we know about politicians stealing money, doing it, Babangida, certain other people. I only skim the surface. I don't proclaim to know a lot. But when we've seen stuff happen consistently, constantly, when do we stop and hold these people accountable, or just say, you know what, like, no more of this, it's going to be this? Or how do we do that? Because like you said, we've been going for years. The question really is kind of, the foundation of that question is firstly, who's the we? Because when we say we, is it me and you? Is it me, you and Wizard? Is it me, you and another set of people? Who's the we? Because when you talk about the we, the people who are benefiting, they're a we. Okay.
They see themselves as
The we.
we will just continue this. The people who are not benefiting and should be benefiting, the question is, are they united enough? Are they aware enough? Are they searching out? You know, it's easy to get up and to go to work every day. It's easy to go and do whatever it does to make your economy work for yourself, a personal economy. It's harder to look at it from the perspective that, hold on, these people are literally stealing hundreds of thousands of pounds from me individually per year because of the wealth of the country. You often hear it said, somewhere like Equatorial Guinea, every person should be more wealthy than a Swiss, but yet the people are living in poverty. It's exactly the same. Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah, Equatorial Guinea.
Yes.
And it's because of corruption.
Because the people in charge are looting every penny that they possibly can. They're literally leaving nothing on the bone. So the issue is, do we understand who the we are? And then when we do, are the we ready to stand up? Are they ready to make it a priority?
But then what's it going to take for the we to be ready to stand up? Because, like, you've got the we standing up in regards to, like, George Floyd or Floyd Patterson. I'm not sure. Don't let me mess up people's names. I'm not good with names.
George Floyd.
You've got people,
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Taylor. Yeah.
But then, after slavery, people asking reparations. You know, like, cool, yeah, we need reparations and stuff. But how about just owning it, keeping hold of what we have got in our countries? About getting together and finding a way to stop the migration of all our resources from our countries to other countries, or the influx of people buying up land, buying up stuff. And like I always say, I don't know much about this, so I'm going to talk clearly.
Right.
But coming into Africa, Nigeria, certain places, and buying up stuff, and then sucking out things from certain places, and people allowing that to get, I don't know, an extra million here, an extra 2 million there, where you're benefiting, but everyone else is suffering. It don't make no fucking sense. We can see it. With the internet. Sorry, Gbola, I'm gonna let you talk as well, because I know you know what you're talking about.
Go ahead.
With the internet, before we didn't know about the stuff like certain things like that film, The Last King of Scotland, and certain stuff that went on in Africa, Nigeria, South Africa. Without the internet right now, we wouldn't have known certain things. Now we know. But people are still happy to be, I don't know, making TikTok videos, doing this stuff, rather than addressing what is going on or consolidating on that. But we can consolidate on the George Floyd? Which is fine. We need to do that. But we need to do this as well. It's imperative for the future, for our children, for everybody. Africa, everyone's migrating to fucking Africa. Why? After they've taken so much already, and I want to stop in a hot minute, but they're still migrating there. Because of all the, not just the resources, the way of life, everything that's there. Can no one that's black actually see? Because we can see. If we can, then we create the we. That's where the we should derive from, as far as I'm concerned. Do you know what I mean?
I get the point. Where does it stand at this point in time? The forces that the we who are activated, because you go through an evolution in life. You understand things. You understand things a bit more. You act, you realise the action can be refined, you go forward a little bit more, you could do a bit more, you work out a bit more, you lose some people, you gain some other people, you lose more people, then you feel you get to a point where you understand what's really going on. But when you look back, who's really in it with you? Because it's, I look at someone like Toyin Agbetu, the guy who stood up. Right, I say who he was. He was the guy who stood up at this so-called commemoration of 200 years of enslavement of Africans, with the British Queen there, Tony Blair there, and all the others at, I think it was Westminster Abbey. And he stood up and he said, I call on all black people here to leave this farce of a ceremony. He was then huddled and rustled out by Secret Service and other collaborators, we'll say, and of course the black people who were in there stayed put. Now, maybe some people would say it was an unnecessary protest, but the question is, how can you sit down with the people who are still oppressing you and say that you're commemorating something which hasn't ended? So I look at someone like that who, to me, is someone who has put together a blueprint of direct action of things that need to be done. Now, many of us don't know about. This is only, 2007, 2008. Many of us don't know, and the reason why we don't know, because we don't have networks such as yourself to promote that information. It should be something that we know as readily as we know the winner of, what was it called, X Factor, all those other shows. Sorry, I'm a bit behind as in what it's called.
You should be behind on that shit because it's bullshit.
Yeah, I'm a bit behind, but whatever it was, that kind of show, we know the winner, we know the contestants, but we don't know our story, our history. So because of that, there's a disconnect. So many people are unaware of what's due to them. Many people are unaware of what's been taken in their name. Many people don't know the route to where it is that they wish to go to, because we do know something is not right. That's why people came out en masse for George Floyd. They came out en masse for Breonna Taylor. They came out en masse for Black Lives Matter. At a time when people had been huddled in for many months, I went and I was amazed at the people who turned out, because I think the first one was expecting 300 in Peckham. The second one I saw was in Trafalgar Square, going to the American Embassy. And the third one was from Hyde Park, going down to Parliament. And there was literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people who turned out, and we're talking of all heritages, not race, because there's only one race, African race, of all heritages. It's the reality.
Hold on. Give me 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
One more time, repeat that and go back to what you were saying. Sorry to digress.
There's only one race, the African race. Hey. So we're all of different heritages. Hey. We have different outlooks, but when you trace it back, we all came from that place. So the issue is the we, and if and when we get it together. I wouldn't say if, when we do, because like anything, like the clock, it keeps going round, eventually goes back to the same point. It's getting closer and closer though. It's inevitable. Yeah, it's inevitable. It's only that most people believe that something which took a number of centuries to manifest are going to be fixed in 10, 15 years. It's not going to happen. We must be honest with that. We must be ready to, as I call it, just to do your bit. You do your bit, I do my bit, we connect, we sit down, we work out what it is that we need to do the next phase, knowing full well that life comes to an end and there must be people who carry it on. So in understanding that, we should be ready just to do your bit. Sometimes you might not see any outcome from it, but as long as you're consistent, someone else will come after you and continue. But if you gave up...
How do you get that? Where do you get that drive from then? What fuels your tank?
Myself personally, I realise something is really wrong in this society that we live in, because when you look at the people who done Extinction Rebellion...
What's Extinction Rebellion? Sorry.
Was the people who did... they stopped the trains, stopped the people on the roads, laying in the road. Okay. It was climate. I think it's not climate change, climate concern. The older people who were sticking themselves to various different things and stopping the roads.
Supergluing themselves.
Yeah, these were older people who people should say, as an older person, you should know better and not really involve yourself. But obviously it moved them. Yeah. And then the younger people were the Extinction Rebellion, there was that young woman, Greta Thunberg.
I'm really bad with stuff.
Her name was Greta Thunberg.
I don't even know your last name. I know Gbola.
Oborode.
Oborode,
yeah. So she done quite a lot, and it's when I saw that my daughter, one of them, she got up, left school, and went to join that, and I thought, but if she can go and join that, how come she can't come and join the struggles that we're on? How come she doesn't relate to our struggles? How come it's something which is removed? Because it's as though many of us see it that it doesn't concern us or affect us. We can't see what we're losing. We're disconnected from it.
Where do you think that disconnect comes from? And what's creating that disconnect? Being
so ingrained in doing every day. We're just part of something, everyday life. You just get on and just do stuff, whether it's work, study. It's only when you get your wake-up slap that you suddenly realise this isn't... Where did that come from? It happens. It happens to a lot of people. You think you're all part and parcel of this, and just finally the people wake you up. Yeah. With an instance, an occurrence... it could be the police stopping you in the street. You said, but I've never been stopped in my life. I've got my insurance. And they treat you horrendously. Yeah. And then you understand, hold on,
This goes on.
This wasn't what happened before. It's happening now. Now you want to step up and rise up. So there's a number of instances. I got stopped when I was very young. I was horrendously treated by the police. I've sued the police.
Wow.
And won money from the police.
How did that go?
Well, that's another. We're
gonna get back to that.
Yeah,
we still have time.
That's another.
We'll get back to that one maybe next time. That's interesting. That's interesting, though.
Yeah, it's interesting.
To embark on that is a serious thing to embark on, because most people get batted down. No matter what you want to do when you go up against the police, we know they're one of the biggest gangs in the world.
Yes,
it's hard even for anyone, let alone a black man, to go against them, sue and win. You know,
but we are a bigger gang. If they're a gang, we're a bigger gang. They are there to serve and protect us. Yeah? So.
Please, no, wait, hold on. Because I was bought into that myth so much, and you just educated me. We say, and that was a propaganda myth that they got into our heads. If the police is the biggest gang in the world, we are still a bigger gang.
Much.
We are the we are the race.
There you go. So,
and that's just black, white, blue, green, everything. We are the world.
Right. So all we have to do is put ourselves in a position that we want better, and we have to interweave some form of fabric that makes our society the way that we want it to be. That will take time. It will take effort. It will take some real radicals, and radical in the sense of people who want to get to the root cause of the problem. That's radical.
That are not concerned about their own personal safety, whatever it takes. Prepared to do whatever it takes. You mean?
That's radical, as in the sense of that life teaches you various different lessons. When you get to a particular stage, I'm good for now. When you get to a particular stage, you understand that we all must go. You know that thing where you have that meeting with death. When it comes, none of us is escaping. Every single person who's come before us, it's been the same conclusion. They've died. So at whatever stage. So the question is, did you fight for what you wanted to, or did you just die? Like, pretending you were doing something. Can you do something? Is there more you can do? And only you can answer that question. Many people don't even ask that question before they... You understand?
Before they pass away.
Before they pass. Now, I've been to a number of funerals recently, and it's given some clarity. It's given some serious clarity, because you get to a particular age, and then they say, if you pass at a particular age, they don't. It's not a big thing. You've had a life. You maybe you were 50, maybe you got to 60, maybe you didn't, but you've had a life. You're gone. Your family are going to mourn, but it's not an unheard of thing for a 50-something-year-old person to die, for a 40-something-year-old person to die. So you've got to question yourself, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? You can sit back in the cut, enjoy, and just say, well, I'm just here for the enjoyment. Or you can try to be part of that change. I've chosen to be part of that change. You said, what really gave me that push? I went to Nigeria. It's now 10 years ago. My father suddenly fell ill, and I landed. He was in the hospital. I was going to do the saviour. I got there. He's passed.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to tell my mum that he's gone. I had to tell my brother, my uncle, my sister, he's gone. I looked at the facilities that were there in a hospital where they charge serious amounts of money just to even admit you.
Yeah.
And realised that for what you're paying for, you're getting nothing. So even that you were able to pay, you got nothing. Didn't mean anything. The issue is, if that was our lot, what was it for the rest of the people who were in Nigeria? Because this happened in Nigeria. So my dad could have come back to the UK. Maybe that was a thing that we wanted him to do, but it didn't happen. And at that point, and what really moved it for me was, at that point, of feeling sorry for myself, and I did, because the next day, of course, you don't sleep, things happen, you wake up, and I came out onto the balcony of the house, and people were in the street having a party for a child. And I just, it's like you getting on with life. Life was going on. The world didn't stop. The world didn't stop. So in looking at that, I then understood, it's a circle of life. What do you want to do? Because you can just sit back and just say, well, I can fly in and out of Nigeria, go to the hospitals in the UK, enjoy. But what about all the other people? And do you want to forever be on guard for the rest of your days because the society is not equal or more equal. Wow. So that was the real catalyst for me. That led me along a path which is going more into being active. Even though before I was active, I went on many of the marches, you know. I always, you know, remember the people who have passed, police brutality again.
It's been a lot in our time as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, brother, but everyone who's live,
yes,
love you. But if you want to see any more of this amazing guy, what we're talking about, you have to watch the episode when it comes out. Look out for the advert. Done now. Yeah, then we got to talk. You can carry on talking. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's just what moves you. You get to that position, you're in that position, you make a decision, and you get on with it. And hopefully you meet some other people along the way, which luckily I was fortunate enough to do, because especially with Nigeria, it being what it is, and not knowing who you can relate with in a serious sense of doing something. I came across the guy who was the publisher of Sahara Reporter, someone called Omoyele Sowore.
Can I say?
His name is Omoyele Sowore.
Omoyele Sowore.
Sowore, yeah. I followed many of his stories on his media house, from his media house, the exposure of the corruption. I went to the Ibori trial in this country of the girlfriend, the wife, the girlfriend, the wife, the sister. I think it was the girlfriend, the wife, the sister, and himself. He was convicted of money laundering, I believe, of taking something like, they convicted him of taking something like 50 million, but the actual amount was something like 250 million. People say much more than that. He was convicted in this country. How did that case come about? The people from Sahara Reporter, they got a picture of his brand new Bentley parked up in a house that he owned in Hampstead. And he was the governor of a state on something like, I don't know, what was his salary? 30,000 or something like that. But he had like a £2 million pound house with a Bentley, brand new Bentley, never driven in the garage. You know, parties galore. So that led to a downfall, but there's much more politics to it than that. But those are the stories which kind of led me towards Omoyele Sowore, which eventually led to the Take It Back movement, of which I'm part of.
Let's talk about the Take It Back movement, please.
Right. Now, Take It Back is a movement started roughly 2018.
Yeah.
There were people in America.
Yeah.
There are people in Canada.
Yeah.
There's people in Sweden, Germany, Italy, Ireland.
Very international,
UK, of course, and many other places around and in between. Dubai, many places. We have chapters. Now, the point of it was we needed a movement to take back the country. It needed a number of people. We saw that the people who call themselves diasporans, and it's a controversial term because I call us refugees. I do. People don't like it because it really makes you understand where you are, because you must question yourself.
You have to be honest with yourself, though.
You must be very honest with yourself. How many Saudi Arabians do you see in this country? What work are they doing? What are they doing here? How long will they be here? When will they return? Ask yourself about Bahrainians. Ask yourself about people from Kuwait. Ask yourself about Swiss people. And then look at us who are from a wealthy place, which is the wealth is being diverted, and then question, what are we really doing here? Why are we here in such numbers? Why are people looking to leave at any cost, sell whatever they've got to leave the country, to go to past Nigeria, leave Nigeria? Young people, the future, the people who should be building the place. So
they're just repatriating it.
Yes, they're not. They're just getting out at any cost. So once you look at that and understand that, you realise that there is a lot to be done. There's many millions of us abroad. We send, I remember my brother-in-law, who ran a charity called Afford, came up with a statistic that something like $29 billion was sent from people who are outside the country back into the country every year. Now, if the budget was only 30 billion, that means you're doing the equivalent as somebody who's outside. So you should have a say. I mean, Nigerians abroad, they don't even have a vote. You can't vote. You must return to Nigeria to vote. Now, we started the Take It Back movement.
Take it back. Let's break that down first. What does it mean and where did it come from? Where did the actual take it back? I know you're taking it back from taking back the explain it to me a little bit more.
So Take It Back is a movement. It's not a political party. It's a movement which is, as I said, based internationally.
Yeah.
Which is to take back the country from the vagabonds who have stolen it from us.
And what's the ethos? How do you propose to take the country back?
Well, a number of us getting together and creating that that movement of people. It's like you've seen in many other territories around the world. The people get together and finally you saw it in Sri Lanka. The people finally got together and threw out the president and the prime minister. You saw the man walk 100 miles to get to the capital to be part of the process of throwing out the leaders.
Okay.
So it needed a movement to make that happen.
Okay.
We're making and putting together a movement to make that change. So both politically and otherwise.
When the movement starts moving now, I know that we're gonna embark. It's been moving.
Yeah.
What are not to be what are the movements of the movement? Not to be
what are the actions?
Yeah, what are the actions of the movement? We do this first. This is our objective. We do this. Then we get this. Then we do that. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to have a direction and a kind of like.
Yes, you must have a blueprint.
Yeah.
Right now, the movement done a very admirable and difficult thing.
Sorry, Walla.
Yeah.
Sorry, because like tomorrow they open the doors at embassies. So okay, what do you request? What's your request?
Right.
What do you want?
Right.
What would you not say? And add that on top of what you was about to say. Sorry.
What I would say to the people is, firstly, leave governance. The people who are there, all of you should go. Forget about some transitional period. You people need to go, all of you. Every single individual involved in governance who has been proven to be somebody who has looted, transferred, misdirected funds should leave. Now, what we would need to do is have a number of people replace them in some form of transition. So what do we want? We want the removal of bad governance wholesale. We want that the place is run for citizens' benefit. So what does that look like? It means that the resources that are innumerable in Nigeria are used for healthcare. They're used for roads. They're used for education.
You know what? I'm really respecting and appreciating what you're saying, but as you're talking, it's like illuminating stuff for me. Like the word politician, by definition, they always take something. They always take some sort of cream off the top of the milk. Here in London, they're just like better at doing it. Other countries, they do it too. I think that when we're talking now, because of the vast numbers and stuff in Nigeria, they've just been over fucking greedy. It's been an ethos. They've just been disgusting with it. But I think that even if we take all the politicians out and put new politicians in, by definitions, they'll take a little bit of cream. You know, like you've got expensive scandals here with politicians. I just think it's been too much in Nigeria. It's almost been. That's the only reason they wanted to get into politics, was so they could fashion money, basically. And that's just me listening to what you're saying. I think that's what needs to be addressed as well as what you're talking about.
Well, what you're saying is a mindset change. I'm really looking at a mindset change, because people should come into politics to serve.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Opposed to take. I think that's what they're coming in especially in Nigerian politics.
Right.
Once they know what's in there, okay, I cannot chop money. I will chop this one, and then we will all chop.
Yes.
I'll give you contract. Give you contract.
Yes.
Opposed to that. Right. Serving the people being the primary thing, right? Which is here, but they still money here.
This is the most corrupt place on the planet.
They still money, because that's just one thing I want to say. Because what you're saying is totally right, but. They label us that we're the only thieving politicians. All politicians are thieves, as far as I'm concerned. Well, in one way or another, there's a little one hand, backhand, one hand. Yeah. Basically,
what you've said is very much the case, that most people believe politics is a very dirty business. In it being a dirty business still means we need to be involved in it. And why? Because everything is politics. Every single thing you ever do in your life is political. Maybe you don't necessarily connect it if you're not looking at it, but the opportunities you're given, the place that you're born, your ability to be able to travel. It's all politics. You know, what school, what opportunities you have, what happens in your life. It's all politics. Someone can make it if the politics is right so that you succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. If the politics is wrong, you're never going to get a chance to get anywhere.
Wow.
In
That's
any shape or
profound,
form. Yeah. And most people, because politics is so dirty, they just say, I don't want anything to do with politics. I mean, I know politics. Just leave the politics. That's what it is. But then the people then divide up the cake. They divide up the cake. I'll give you an instance. Haringey, Tottenham is one of the most underfunded boroughs in the country, so they say. It had a corridor of poverty called Lee Valley. Yeah. Someone was taking the money. Someone was presenting themselves as the community and taking the money. What happened to the money? Where's the records of the money? As far as they're concerned, somebody was representing the community, took the money.
Because the money was there. There was money. There was money. There was money allocated for things that are lacking. That
were lacking. But the people who were meant to benefit from it were not organised in order to get it, and those who were organised took it. So our issues are all politics, and I kind of look at it that if we got into politics like we got into other things, imagine what that would look like. Because when you're in the council or a councillor or an MP, you've got power to make decisions that affect everybody. But when you remove yourself from it, what power do you have now? You've got none. Someone else is making those decisions for you. And then all you can do is complain from the outside. So yes, get in, but get in not just for the identity. Don't just be a person who is seen by face. It's black guy, black woman, they're politics. Who are they representing? Are they representing us? Are they trying to represent us? Are we the people who are voting them in? Are we the people who staunchly come out to support them? And without us, they would be in no position? Or are we just the people who they say they're representing and never do? So we has to be so mighty. They have to be so mighty that they can dictate what is done in their name. Because at this point in time, anybody black can stand up and claim that they're representing black people, even though they never do. And the instances are abound of people who claim they never did, got what they needed and moved on. What were we left with? And the we again is the we who are the people who don't benefit from the actions of the people who claim to represent us. So there's a lot to it that we have to do. Some people are unwilling to do it. Well, that just pushes you to the side. I'm not one of those people who's waiting for somebody who's looking to decide. I'm looking for the people who are already out there, who already know, but the only thing they don't know is that they're others. Because there's a silent majority, but they don't have an airwave. They don't have a voice. They don't even know that the person that they're looking for is only, two streets away, next door. Yeah. I leave at 5 and I come back by 7. They leave at 8 and they come back by 3. So we never see. Yeah. And we meet in places where you least expect years later in another country. So it's about creating that network and connection, and people like yourself and people others who are thinking have the ability to create that network and that connection, because you're in the pleasant position to be able to reach out to younger people who it really falls with them, because they decide, for all it is. As a parent of children who are now adults, I can say what I like, but when they're ready, I know I'm going to go. And when I'm gone, then they're going to do what they want to do. So what legacy was really left if you didn't? Yeah, when you passed. Yeah. So the issue for me is that interaction with young people to let them know politics is really, really, really important. It's more important than...
Well, everything is politics.
Yeah, it's everything. Look at Arsenal Stadium, which is over there. It used to be a rubbish dump how many years ago? What kind of politics was done so that it was moved to there? How did they work that out? What kind of funds did they get from the governance? What kind of sweeteners? What kind of sweeteners did they get?
There's a lot of backhanders over there.
How did that work? What does that actually look like? Yeah. How do we benefit from something like that? Where's our take from it?
It's more beneficial for us to be like a more of a closed community, because I feel like black people are very open to, what I'm saying, open to letting other people in, helping other people.
Opposed to Jews
as
and
opposed to
Asians,
do you know other communities? They're very closed and they have their own kind of infrastructure.
It's very true, but we then got to ask ourselves: do we all identify as black? So when we say again, we go back to that we. There's an issue.
Where are you, boys?
Yeah, there's this issue where we've got to ask ourselves, do we really identify as we? Because many of the time, it's only when, as I said, you get that wake up, then you want to be black. You were quite happy to.
I was IO,
yeah.
Now you're black.
Yeah, now
you're black again.
Yeah, that's how it is. So we don't necessarily have gatekeepers to our society. There's no, I look at people like I knew the guy before when he was in the police. I don't know if you know him, Leroy Logan. Who used to be the chief inspector at Stoke Newington Police Station, and he always used to advocate for blacks coming into the police and
get me drunk on my own show.
And blacks coming into the police. I'd like to question his position now. What's his position now, having left? Because many of the people who were in it then look at it and say, well, it was never going to change. So we have the Black Police Officers Association, but the head of it is not a black person, or the head of it wasn't a black person. So when you say we let ourselves in, who's the gatekeepers to determine, okay, what does black actually mean? Is it politically black, or the colour of your skin is black, which is really brown? And how do you define that? Is that I'm a Caribbean, or I'm an African, or I'm an Afro-Caribbean, or I relate as a British black person, or some other in-between place? So we need definition, and we need some gatekeepers. And we need a strong structure to say, this is us. And unless you come through this, you can't represent us. And we need to be in charge of that.
That's how they make the changes. Gbola, what were you like as a child?
Oh, as a child, that's going back. I was brought up in Islington, very early stages.
Very racist area. What part of it is it?
Just up the road in Stroud Green.
Oh, that wasn't too racist.
Well, there's a lot of us there. So my earliest memory,
Back up, man. Don't come over here. We don't play.
As a child, was I always kind of I always kind of look out of a cot, but I'm not sure whether it was when we were living in South London or whether we was living over in here.
Right. In Finchley Park, yeah.
So it was in Finchley Park, and the earliest thing I got, I'm an advanced child, so I got up on the advanced child.
Hold on. If you do say so yourself, get free.
Yeah,
that's for all the advanced children out there.
Yeah, I got up on a chair when I was little and opened the door because I wanted to go to the sweet shop. I must have been about 2, so I went out there 6 o'clock in the morning. And went across the road and waited outside the sweet shop till the sweet shop opened, and I went. And my parents, of course, didn't know where I was. So anything could have happened. Luckily, it didn't. I made my way home. So Islington, moved from there to Tottenham, where my dad owned.
That's what I know you from.
Moved from there. This is still younger before that. So So I moved from there. We was in Hackney for a while. We went to Hackney for a while. Kingsmead Estate, big up Kingsmead. Yeah, before it was crazy Kingsmead, and went back to it. It was, and then back to
down now. Is it still up?
It's still up. Oh. Very expensive now, and it's not what it was. And it was. I mean, in those days, it was. Kingsmead Infant School. It was really fun to be a child. You had a big adventure playground. All the children would play out. It was
fun to be a kid, though,
it was fun. You'd walk all the way up to Mere Street looking for. I'm 53.
Fucking hell, Gbola. Excuse my French, guys. 53.
Yeah, I'm 53.
Shut the front door. You look cool. I didn't know he's younger than me, bro.
No. So I cut off all the grace.
Yeah, you've seen a lot then.
Yes, I have seen a lot.
I'm changing. When I say a lot, don't just say seen a lot because of 53 years.
A lot.
I mean, in the past, I'm 47. The changes that have happened since the Thatcher era and so on and so forth, and then the modern technology, the stuff that's happened in the past 20, 30 years, a lot of stuff's happened. A lot of stuff's happened.
A lot.
The world has just shrunk.
Yeah.
But so go on. So
Tottenham, my dad owned quite a few houses, so we moved one place to the other, and was in Tottenham. Tottenham, I have to say, honestly, as an experience, when people are not from the country, because my parents came here in the 60s, so when people are not from the country, you come as a fully fledged adult, you don't mind what's going on around you, because as far as you're concerned, I'm only here to do study and go back home. Many people often see it as some better opportunities.
It's a means to an end.
Yeah, it means to an end. But as a child, Tottenham, as lovely as a place it was a place where a lot was going on. Let's just call it like that. I wouldn't necessarily go into deeper than that. Say again?
A child of what age?
At that stage, from about the age of 13.
Okay, yeah, there would be a lot going on. Because young guys would go over your head.
Yeah.
5, 6 would go over your head.
Yeah,
but at that age,
but it was a lot going on.
Thank you so much for this cake, brother. Oh my
son
God.
loves red velvet. That's what I saw it, and I said,
God bless
okay.
your son. God bless red velvet, and God bless you.
Yeah. So there was a lot going on, and around the time of the Tottenham uprising, they call it a riot, but we call it an uprising.
But Brixton ones.
The one that was in Tottenham. The Brixton one came before, slightly.
No. Sorry. You talking? I want to get him on a show, so we'll quote names.
Yeah.
With Braithwaite, Mark Braithwaite.
Yes.
Yeah, that was stuff.
That time.
Winston Silcott and all that.
Yes.
I'm trying to get him to come on the show as well.
Right.
We're going to do an interview with him as well, so that will be about that. We'll cover that. But I remember it. I was young, but I remember those. I remember that time.
The Tottenham uprising was something which left great problems for the area, because for a number of years Tottenham was under occupation, where the police could pull you up at anything. You'd see a bully van on every corner, and we're talking people who were never from the community, don't know anything about the community, don't care anything about community, who were not there to serve and protect. They were just there to oppress. So
and distress.
So it was a regular thing to, as a young person, run away from the police because you feel like you're being chased, even though you might not necessarily be. But for them, it was a game.
And also, can we just say, put into perspective, because I appreciate the jovialism that we're talking about this, but it was also a regular thing for people to die in police custody, get licked down and stuff. When they caught certain people, they'd give them certain licks. So back in the day, we did have that, but it was when certain people would get arrested, and the way they would be treated was almost for one of, like Steve Biko in the in his story about being driven how many miles from hospital. Because there's some stories about some fuckers in police in Tottenham as well.
There are some really. I have been through a number of experiences. We will say.
Sorry to hear that as well.
It does desensitize you. And one thing I always say is that you have to try and keep your compassion, because what happens is the attempt is to make you completely savage. That's what it is. So you try to keep your compassion, which can be very difficult. That's why I said, as a young person growing up, the older heads are, when you're a particular age, you're already formed. You're not in a position where something that would affect a child would affect you. And you got to remember, the Tottenham I'm talking about, I don't know if you know White Hart Lane.
Come on, obviously, man. I'm from the manor, bro.
So White Hart Lane was another territory.
I know.
As a black person, you couldn't go past there.
Farm was another territory as well. Farm, they put a police station in Farm as well, remember?
So where I'm talking about is, I can remember going to my first football match.
Sorry, Gbola.
Yeah.
Sorry, you just said something.
Yeah.
And I've almost lost it, but I don't want to lose it. You said something about how you behave. Just go back a bit. I wanted to tell the youth, that's it. Don't become a savage, because a lot of youth right now are becoming savage because of the stuff they're going through, and let that be their only default. And we're seeing a lot of violence and a lot of retaliation, and people saying, I've been violated, and so on and so forth, because of stuff that's happened to them. We have to be careful about this. There's one thing to be said about defending yourself, having fighting you and stuff, but then being defined by the things that happen to you, and the way you think society is perceiving you is dangerous. And like, because of what you said, it's just like a thing went in my head, because some of the stuff that's going on the road, the way they're stabbing each other, it's savage. And a lot of these kids think that that's the only way they can show that don't mess with me, or this is who I am, don't violate, and this is my power. It's not the only power we have.
Yes.
Like, and it's important for us to understand we don't need to feed into that narrative, even though the narrative is there consistently. There's another narrative for us, or there's another story for us. Very important. Sorry, Gbola, go on.
But going on from what you've just said there, every individual has the opportunity.
Hey, come in.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, we're in the middle of filming.
Are you waiting?
Yeah, come in. We're in the middle of filming. Come in.
Sorry.
It's all right. Go on.
Yeah, every opportunity has the ability, if allowed to evolve.
Yeah.
Every individual.
Yeah.
Think about the person who you thought wouldn't make it past whatever age it was, the person who was as off key as you could ever imagine because they were just in a life, like in a groove, in a pattern. You see that person 30 years later, which to a 15-year-old, a 19-year-old, 30 years is beyond their comprehension.
Yeah.
But in 30 years' time, that's a completely different individual.
Yeah.
Now, that's because they've been given or been afforded the opportunity to evolve.
To grow.
So how did I learn that? I learned that through my young ones. Because I often say to them, I am a very different person now to who I was. And it's the evolution that has allowed me to become that person.
Yeah.
So you have to be given the opportunity to do that. And where you say that people have become more savage, it's as though they want to end people now.
Yeah.
Now,
no, but my thing is, it's like savage is the default, because like what I'm saying is what you was talking about in the context you was talking about, it was how after being desensitized by the way the police treated us back in the day, because I was part of that time, like we almost, before they even stopped us, we're ready to be what they're telling us we're going to be, because they're not seeing nothing else. So we have to do that to defend ourselves. So we'd run, we'd be ready to fight, skinheads, maybe these or whatever. That would be, we'd have to be like that. A lot of the children nowadays feel like they have to be like that because there's so much stories of this one stabbing this one, that one stabbing that one. So things derive from fear. Also things derive from, let me show them I'm a beast before they can do. But you don't actually have to be the beast. You can actually show them, okay, I'm vulnerable, but I have the capacity to protect myself. But buying in totally to that savage thing, only like it's almost like what they wanted. Because if we now, so please stop me now, right? And I'm like, oh, fuck off, what you fucking do about If I don't articulate, they could just arrest me. If I articulate and keep calm, I don't like police. This is just an ethos. Don't like police, don't like what they're doing. But I know how to control myself and not be that savage. There's only so far they can take it. If I become that savage that they want me to become, it's easy for them to control my next movements and everything else that goes with that. So that's like for the kids these days, because they've almost got no one to tell them, you can win, you're great, you're amazing. In 15 years from now, you're not going to be suffering the same thing. Wait, be patient. They're not seeing that. They just, okay, I'll be a savage because that's how I can defend myself. That's all I was trying to say before. Do you know what I mean?
That's how you can exist now. I mean, you've gone on to a point whereby I see it that this, there's a term which is be the best you can be. But I kind of look at it, just be you. If it's good today and it's not so good tomorrow, it's still you, you know, accept that. Don't put yourself to a point where you feel you have to be this super person. It's what society is trying to make you believe you have to be this on a hype, unobtainable kind of person to package yourself as something that you can't maintain. And to maintain it causes issues. So I kind of look at it that, I mean, I listened to something I think you said, because there is an understanding of it. You've got to allow children to be children. You've got to allow them to be children. The issues that are faced by parents are they're not empowered. Again, the political thing comes into it. Because if the most important thing was family in this society, we'd have a very different society.
Definitely.
It's not. What it is something else.
Consumption.
So the end result is consumption comes at any cost, and family can be destroyed by that. Now, if you can protect the children, then that creates a generation of protected children. What I would say now is we don't have that. So it got worse. it didn't get any better. It takes a number of institutions. I go back to the institution which was Kids Company, which they said they closed down because there was alleged fraud.
Kids Company.
Camilla Batmanjani, who they said somehow that 3 million had disappeared. It turned out 3 million didn't disappear, but they'd already closed it down. And one thing she said, if you close it down, there's going to be a lot more of what we were trying to stop. So think about 3 million and then think about the billions that were spent on COVID. And then ask yourself, and this goes back to it, how much is a person's life worth? It's a question. Because if someone is murdered, how much does that investigation cost? I think it's $1.5 million. But why can't you spend a lot less than that on people at risk, at people that your institutions have worked out need assistance? Rather than do that, you wait for it to happen. Then when it happens, you clean up the mess and still make more money. So it's not at the heart of it to make things, I don't see it as being at the heart of it to make it that it's beneficial. It's like if you're seen as on the peripheries, then it's all right. The world will get on, but you'll just be on the edges. We need to be more thinking of the people on the edges, because many of us exist in those edges. So we need to stand up and fight for those things. That's what I would say. Wow. Yeah.
Well, you left me with a lot of things, man. Do you want to, like, wow, it's like we're not finished. We got a little bit more time still. Right. The gentleman's early. We got a little bit more time, and that was almost like it felt like a closing speech, but it's not closing it.
No, it's not
powerful. I like that. Is there anything you care to ask me? I've still got stuff I want to ask you.
Yeah.
And I think that this is an ongoing conversation we need to have. I think it's a part one, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of stuff to be covered in regards to our country, the country, human beings, and what's going on in the world today. So I think there's a lot more for us to cover. Wizard, have you got any questions for Gbola? Anything?
No, I know you've spoken about a few solutions, but I try to always, towards the end of our conversations, highlight some solutions. You know what I mean? Just ways of how we can move forward and overcome some of the problems that we're talking about today.
Okay.
So no, just in general, just
solutions. I'd say firstly, as I've said, try and get people who you wouldn't think would be involved in politics engaged, as in the sense of someone I know ran for a councillor in the Green Party. I was quite amazed that they run for councillor, because I was thinking, then I looked into it, and the councillor maybe is anywhere between 2,000 and 5,000 votes. You're a councillor. So think about the power that a councillor has. Think about the power that a local government has. And then think about the power that you could have in your community if you can muster that kind of number. And then think of it from that perspective, that the young people who by 16 can register to vote and by 18 can vote, and the many thousands of them who could have a say, who don't because they're completely disengaged. So it's to try and make it standard, like you would buying a new pair of trainers, or you would going to buy Uber Eats. This is my political idea. I'm not saying which one you have to follow, but just be engaged and see what is beneficial to you as a solution. Because if you do not, someone else is making decisions for you, and in them making decisions for you, they're not ones which benefit you, and then you can't really complain about the outcome because it's all political. So that's what I would say.
You can talk, please.
The issue is what you said. Look, consumption. Influencers on Instagram or social, TikTok, wherever, are all consumers. They're all encouraging us to consume, to buy stuff.
Is that mic on, Mac? No. All right. Go on.
And what we should be doing is influencers who are going to influence us behind political agendas. Because at the moment, we're going down the wrong road.
Okay, I want to reiterate this because of the voice thing. You said influencers influence us to buy products and stuff on the internet, where we should have influencers that have political agendas, then we can actually make changes in life.
The people at the top who benefit from the system as it is have no momentum to change because they're benefiting. The people who who need change are us. We want change. We have to change the system. We have to get people to vote. We have to get people to stand for councillors. We have to get people to stand for MPs. That's how you change the system.
All right. We getting in. We getting you know you're coming on in a minute, right? You'll be up in a minute, mate. One sec. Gbola. Is there anything you want to ask me?
What gave you the passion to come along and start?
This is the same question everyone asks. Everyone asks the same question. What's the same question if you ask the same question?
You asked the same question.
They asked me the same question before.
Okay.
It's like, it's the same as what makes you want to fight for what you fight for. It's like, in my everyday life, I meet different people. The person in the corner sitting there, we had a 5-10 minute conversation. That's the reason why he's here right now. But I start talking to people and I realise in life we have similarities and we have differences, but we're all human beings. And if we can now find a common language between each other, we can find solutions to universal problems. We can find an easier way to circumnavigate life, because when I realised that you live here, I live there, we're both going through the same thing. But then, like, you maybe your baby mum's done this, or your baby, or the cancer's done this to you, or this person, and we can talk about these issues. These issues no longer compound on us, define us, create like a fucked up life for us. We can understand, like, yeah, it's a universal theme. We get on, we go. Therapeutic. You can be my crutch today, I'll be your crutch tomorrow. Yep. I say good morning to you, hello. That might be the difference between you killing yourself or going and killing someone else, or having or being at the bottom of a bottle for that day. And if I can do that and someone else can do that for me, that's how we change what's going on, the narrative. Do you know what I mean? Because the consumption thing is no good for anyone. But like in a fire, when you got two coals and they light and they light and they light and they light, this is how things, then we create a fucking fire, then we're all warm. Look how we met that morning and we started talking, yeah? Look at that. See what I'm saying? I've got your paperwork right here. We look at that, and now we're going to do something else, and we're sitting across the table just because of that meeting there. Look how we met. We spoke for a couple of minutes. This guy, when this guy gets on camera, look, he's so amazing. Like he was trying to get in on your interview. Just he got a lot to say, and I loved that. And when we spoke, we had a lot to. So that's for me. That's what this is about. Because too many people are walking around like that and not hearing the voices. And if I can hear your voice and your voice and your voice, and if I'm 10, 20, 30, 40, and I can listen to that voice, and I had the benefit of 40 plus 50, whatever, that's 90-something years of knowledge, bro. And that's all I need you to understand. If I combine it all together, if I'm intuitive, if I'm smart enough, or I'm open-minded enough, like you should be, to learn from your mistakes and stuff, we can now stand on the shoulders of giants and become even bigger. Do you know what I'm saying? Or I could just help people rather than, or I could either help people or just be in my own lane. And I either want to enhance people or just enjoy myself, have a drink, whether chill out, have a laugh with my friends, eat some good food, but one of the two and nothing else. Because life is so short, I don't know when I'm going to die. And I've seen loads and loads of stuff. So I want to be doing good stuff when I'm doing what I'm doing, or beneficial stuff, or stuff that I can breathe out and say, okay, yeah. And on that note, before we finish, I'm going to give you a poem. I gave it to the last guest, but I'm going to give it to you because this poem, we're supposed to be doing this together. So I'm going to do it on this show and another show. If you see it twice, it's twice as nice. We used to rave there as well, didn't we?
There you go. Yeah, another day.
Yeah, in the back of the day. So, and it starts as, it goes to what you said. I'm vindicating being political because I'm trying not to be associated with that, but everything is political. So here's the poem. I never claimed to be political, but things in the motherland, sorry, let me start again. I never claimed to be political, but in the motherland, things are critical. That's why I'm reaching out. I've seen and read many things, but I never thought I'd see this day in my adult lifetime. It smashed my heart and messed my mind. Pain is an understatement. I'm human, so I have the capacity to be selfish, but the emotions brought up by what I've seen recently, I cannot shelf this. I'm a Nigerian, firstborn generation in London, so my understanding, my way of living is different from my brothers and sisters back home. I'm seeing, reading and hearing things that can't be condoned. Robbing, stealing, beating, killing of our own. But the people put in place to protect us. It's madness, it's insane, inhumane, incomprehensible. It's been going on for years, it's indefensible. Did we not learn anything from the late great Nelson Mandela? Massacres in Rwanda, the struggles in the Congo, music from Fela. We trade dictators for individuals that hate us. Can't see their brothers and sisters doing good. Governed by a government that refuses to do what they should. Driven by hatred and greed. Watching Africans bleed and die. Why? So our resources can be divided amongst the rest of the world. How stupid are we? Open up your mind or you're blind. What's it going to take for us to see? Did no one learn from slavery? I'm not political, but things are critical. Africans, not just Nigerians, must stand shoulder to shoulder and refuse for this to continue. We are powerful people. I know you have it in you. That's why I'm reaching out. I'm not political. This is just how I feel. That's for the Nzazu. That's for that. And that I wrote off of seeing something about SARS on TV. And I didn't like... I'm here, I live in a bubble like a lot of people live in a bubble watching social media. Unless you know, you don't know. And the propaganda machine is powerful. So they won't show you this. But when COVID was on, all you saw was every day. So when I saw this stuff that was going on in Nigeria, I was like, wow. And then I'm walking freely every day. I've got nothing to worry about. Well, my understanding is you could be driving a nice car, and the people that have been put in place now, there was a thing where a lot of armed robbers were going around robbing people and making it not safe to walk on Nigerian streets or drive certain times at night. So they initiated a police task force. This police task force eradicated the robbers, then became the robbers.
Correct.
Is that right, yeah?
That's correct.
And it's disgusting. So then now seeing you driving whatever, and they'll stop you just because you're driving a certain car. You know, you got everything on your finger there, so you got a couple of quid. Give me some money, sort me out. No, then there's problems for you, which is wrong.
Which could lead to your death.
It's your death. People are getting killed. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Why would somebody, and this is now, why would somebody be happy making their money abroad, going back home, just to be persecuted by your own police force? It don't make no fucking sense, and I have to swear because it's disgusting. Let's talk about that, and you can add your 2 pence worth in. We'll finish up, but I want you to talk about that for me, please.
Well, talking about that is we're in October.
Yeah. Do you need a drink? Sorry.
No. On October the 20th marks the second anniversary of the NSARS uprising, which happened in October 2020 in Nigeria, across Nigeria, because many people focus on what happened in Lekki, but it was across Nigeria, where young people took to the streets to demonstrate peacefully that they'd had enough of police harassment, police killings. There were a number of people killed who were shot. Some were seriously injured, many died, who they just had enough. They didn't want it to happen. So they took to the street peacefully. The government agreed to some demands, but it seems as though they were playing for time. And then the time came on the 20th of the 10th, 2020. The state, in its many forms, army, police, went to the streets and murdered its future. You can't get it any clearer than that. They took to the streets and they murdered them. It switched off the lights, pretended that it didn't happen, and left many people dead. And even took away their bodies in many cases. Picked up the bullet casings and thoroughly covered up the scene of their crime. Now, it's coming to 2 years. The people who protested are still. Many of them are still in prison, even though many of them have never been charged to any case. So imagine that. You stood up for freedom in a so-called democratic society, and you've been in prison for nearly 2 years without charge.
Disgusting.
And that's just seen as the system in Nigeria. So I always put it that the refugees, us, the diaspora, and some would call us, as again I said, we're refugees who are in many places across the globe. It falls to those who are awake, those whose light is on. Because I can't blame somebody if their light is not on. If your light's switched off, well, that's up to you. Either you made it so or you didn't. That's just the way it is. So I'm reaching out to those whose light is on to commemorate, to mark, to do something for that date. I know it will not go out before that date, but it's just the point of the people who are away from Nigeria have so much to do for Nigeria if they can be bothered, and so much to gain and benefit from Nigeria.
I want to just say something. If you got the camera for me, please. Like, I'm saying, like, whether you are Nigerian, you're Nigerian, isn't it? You left, you made your money, wherever you're making money, whatever you're doing. For me, it's your obligation. Like many other nations do, they repatriate and they take care of their country. Without you coming back or funneling back either your resources, your energies, your expertise, and your strengths back into our country and helping us grow properly, we'll be suffering the same things for many years to come. And it's like we hold academically, our levels are so high. Even with our youngsters, you know this, our youngsters, they're so intelligent. Where we are in the infrastructure, we're there. We're in almost every country in the world as far as I'm concerned. So we've shown that we have the resilience, we have strength, we have power. Irrespective of our natural resources, we need to consolidate and do and make ourselves as strong as everyone else sees us, because they fear us, because they know how strong we are. Everyone sees how strong we are, but we don't see how strong we are. Or we don't create the full sentient being that we need to create. So I think it's very important that wherever you are, you take stock of yourself. What are you doing for Nigeria? What are you doing for the future of your country, the future of your children, the future of your nation? Ask yourself that question, please. And then also, on a bigger scale, ask yourself what you're doing for the future of Africa as an African person. Because I won't say a black person, as an African person. God bless you. Well,
yeah, I mean, I listen to that and I say that the issue that is Nigeria is a global issue. So we would call on people from around the globe. The same way that what was happening in South Africa during apartheid, the world, those who were motivated in the world stood up. It's the same thing they need to do for Nigeria. You need to come on board, whether you're from Latvia, whether you're from Trinidad and Tobago, whether you're from South Africa, whether you're from Japan. Everybody's help will benefit, because once Nigeria stands up, Africa stands up. Once Africa stands up, the world changes. It's just that simple. It's not complicated.
On a celebrate, just decide to celebrate for.
Got the voice behind the camera back in the studio. Yeah.
Just to celebrate the things that Nigeria has been doing lately, because I feel like a lot of the media gives Nigeria a lot of bad feedback as
Can you
well.
put this mic on?
No, let me just but I just to celebrate, like, because what he said, if Nigeria has been one of the places that has been lifting up Africa, like within the last, I say 5-10 years, with music, media, and all the different things that they've been doing. So even Ghana, I give them credit, but Nigeria, in terms of financially, they're a superpower of the world, and people don't recognise them as much as they should for how much they're a superpower.
Africa is going to be the next big economy.
This is what I'm saying, and Nigeria is definitely heading that. So
it was going to be, well, it is China. Then it was going to be India. Then it was going to be Africa.
Exactly.
So Africa's coming.
And Nigeria is at the centre of it.
Yeah.
So just to celebrate the size of it, because I think we struggle to celebrate our wins at times. So sometimes I just want to make sure that we celebrate our wins as well, because I think that we stick to a narrative sometimes that may be expired. Do you know what I'm saying? In terms of how much we're doing for Africa, because I think like as well as we need to still remind people to come back. A lot of people have gone back. A lot of people have been building, and a lot of people from different countries as well have joined. Like Nigeria is looking colourful right now.
It's trying to rob us.
Yeah.
There's a weird thing going on though with immigration, or what do you call yourselves?
Refugees.
Right?
Refugees.
So
Refugees.
who's the biggest refugee group in the world? It's the Irish, right?
That's true.
They're everywhere. There's more people outside of Ireland who claim Irish heritage than there are inside of Ireland.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And everyone...
I didn't know that.
And they're charming and they're lovely. And
I love Irish people.
Yeah. But they always stick up for the Irish, and they always go home, and they always put on the songs, and they always want to sing the song. And I really hate the way Americans do it with the, I'm a Nigerian American, I'm an English American, I'm an Italian, because it's divisive.
Okay, you're just Nigerian, you're Irish.
We are what we are.
We are.
And you've got to celebrate what you are.
That's right. And sometimes it's just British.
Yeah.
Well, in that point, just to go on from that point, you see, one thing, I have to look at the giant of Africa and ask the question: what are we world class in? Because everyone, what are we world class in? And then look at what does that look like? What are we world renowned in? What are we the best at in the world? Right now, imagine.
Is a Nigerian prince.
So imagine all those things that you're talking about, imagine we were world class in politics in Nigeria. Imagine we were. What would that look like? How would that reflect in our lives, directly reflect in our lives? We're not talking in any futuristic sense today. Yeah. All those resources that we're talking about were world class now in politics. Right now, the world class place in politics I see is Norway, because they look after their citizens.
Yeah, but also they're structured. Yeah, exactly.
And the structure and the institutions are in place. What would it look like for that in Nigeria? In Nigeria?
So I work with Norwegians. So
I've never lived in Norway.
You can't say that.
Yeah. I've lived.
No, I'm saying it from the perspective of this. I'm sure everywhere has its issues.
Facts. That's right.
I'm sure everywhere has its issues, but our issues far surpass those which others are facing. We're still dealing with, and it's a very disastrous thing. We're dealing with no electricity, and when you say that, it's like you have to pause when you say no electricity, because think of the benefits you have from electricity, then think you don't have it. When you talk about healthcare, you don't have it. Why don't you have it? We have world-class doctors. Why don't we have healthcare? What's our issue? What is the reason behind it?
Yeah.
No, we do.
No, but the issue is this. So
we need knowledge of how to keep ourselves healthy rather than healthcare.
No, but
it's all part and parcel.
Let me talk about.
But healthcare is not keeping. Yeah.
Norway has an oil company called Statoil.
Yeah.
Right. It's now called Equinor. I helped change the name.
Equinor,
Statoil. It's 50% owned by the stock market, 50% owned by the government, by the people of Norway. Right. It funds 98% of their pension. So when Norwegians get old, they don't have a care. That's why they retire.
No, they're getting their pension sorted. The infrastructure's there.
What the structure is
the infrastructure's there, yeah.
You know, this investment fund, this 50%, they invest. You know, it's on the stock market. It's growing all the time. It's billions.
600 billion at last count.
Yeah.
600 billion, yeah?
600 billion.
I've sat in meetings with corporations, in Coca-Cola, in, GlaxoSmithKline.
Is there any way to get the other mics linked up? Another mic linked up after?
You sit in a board meeting at Norway, and they say, okay, we're going to make this decision for this thing. How are the people going to view that?
How's it going to affect them?
So you ask that question
every meeting.
At the first instance, not afterwards.
Capitalism is a machine. You can't blame capitalism. It's a machine.
Yeah.
We make something, we make it better, we make it cheaper. We make something, we make it better, we make it cheaper. We make something, that's capitalism. But you've got to have something else in there to control that machine and do something with that power and that energy. And at the moment, we haven't. It's just going crazy.
Was it like in the world?
Yeah, globally.
Here, the world. Anyway.
So let me wrap this guy. I want to bring this guy on because we've got 2 hours, so I don't want to get confused.
No,
I want to finish nicely, Gbola.
We're there, yeah.
Gbola.
Yes, Ayo.
No, we've got a lot to cover. I mean, the poem I delivered.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go and do that. I want to come
on
up
the 20th of the 10th. Yeah.
And then commemorate and then celebrate and illuminate that day for everyone around the world and in London and stuff. We have to find out a way to make that something we do consistently. I think that whole Black History Month, forget that Black History Year, we have to find ways to be giving the stories of stuff across the whole year of the goods, the rights, the wrongs, the bads, the goods, everything, because without knowing the whole picture you don't understand. Like in the Bible you have examples of everything, where sometimes people just want to give an example of the good or something to do the bad. Let's have examples of everything, so then we can make our own decisions of it, and we understand that we come from a people that are great. They can be bad, but they can be good. They can be wonderful. They can be the worst. Yeah, exactly.
They can be real people.
The real people. Yeah. This is very important. Yeah. Closing, I'll leave you with the last word, Gbola. We're going to close after what you have to say. So please, this is for you, sir.
Well, just in closing, I would encourage everyone to do their bit. That's all I'd encourage. What you think is your bit to do it. Don't wait on someone else to direct you. Try, if you can't find something that you want to do, try and join with someone else who has. Don't necessarily tear down someone who is doing their bit, but just concentrate on you doing yours. And if we can interconnect, even better. Reach out, find some people, connect with them, make it happen. And it doesn't have to be a phenomenal thing that anyone recognizes you for. It's just to get, so you're in action, you're doing, you're making it different, and it might not happen in your lifetime, but you have to be acceptant. It's a lot of acceptance. I'm going to try my best, but whatever I achieve is what I can achieve. So that's what I would say.
Love that.
Gbola, thank you.
Thanks.
What?
Yeah.
I will greet you as well, my brother.
Yes.
Thank you for everything you've done today.
Thank you for having me.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for the food you brought. Thank you for the insight you brought, the energy, the enlightenment, the education. Like, I can't wait to work with you again. I'm coming on the 20th. Hopefully I'll get you down to film as well. If not, I'll be there, be reciting a poem.
Yeah.
Please, if you're not too busy on the 20th of October
this
month, get down to the Nigerian High Commission.
Nigerian High Commission,
Where
6
is it?
o'clock. It's 9 Northumberland Avenue.
9 Northumberland Avenue at 6 o'clock.
WC2. Yeah.
WC2.
It's right across from Trafalgar Square.
WC2, Nigerian High Commission. We're there protesting
Let them know.
about SARS, what's gone on, the atrocities, the treatment of our Nigerian people that is wrong. The only way we make changes is by being part of the machine to implement the change. That's it. We're not asking for much. We just ask for your time for now. Maybe later on we'll ask for more, but now we're just asking for time. And if you can't come along, please spread the word to someone else. The 20th is the anniversary of
the second year anniversary of the massacre, that took place in Nigeria for the people who stood up. So one last thing, we as Take It Back are out every Monday from 7 o'clock in front of the Nigerian High Commission. We've been there for nearly 9-10 months now, because we are having a town hall, a protest about this is every Monday from 7 o'clock, about the inconsistencies, the poor governance, the killings, the freedom fighters who were fighting on our behalf who have been in prison, incarcerated in Nigeria. So we're there to hold the governance to account.
Every Monday,
from 7 o'clock in the evening. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's commitment. It takes time. If you can't get out that Monday, there's another Monday. If you can't get out that Monday after, there's another Monday. If there's not that Monday, there's another Monday.
Yeah, there's another Monday. And
all are welcome.
Yeah, look at what's going on.
Just come and see what's going on, and come and say your piece and what you see. Do your bit. That's it. That's what I would say.
God bless you.
Cooking jollof.
No, he brought jollof. He brought jollof.
This is amazing.
He brought jollof,
some
champagne.
fish in there.
He brought everything. Everything around you. He brought
You
everything.
make me feel bad now. I feel like
Everything. Hold on. He won't put me this. I didn't even open this one.
Yeah, that's for you.
There's one open already as well.
That's for you.
God bless you.
That's appreciation. That's appreciation. That's appreciation. No, we appreciate you. This is appreciation.
God bless you. Thank you so
go.
much. I can't wait to we talk some more.
Yes.
We've done on the 20th. Let's chop up some more about what's going on in Nigeria, the issues.
Yeah.
I think that talking with my crew, which is they're all in the house right now, we may be find a way to make it a regular annual thing, even if it's once a month, once every couple of weeks. We sit down and we talk about what's going on in Nigeria, what we do to change it, and where we're at, changes that have been made, things that are coming up. I think being a Nigerian myself, this is something I should do. Like, this is what I can do to give back and help out.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we kind of like we do. Maybe we can get together and do this together. Yeah.
I'll definitely be up for that.
Okay, inshallah, we talk about it.
Inshallah. I'll tell you what.
No.